and then we took out up to a certain amount. Took out the amount, and that's to be, you can use negotiated or cooperative purchasing. And so we put in whatever amount purchasing agent comes up with on 4 and 5 also. I want to ask Chris if she would just to come up and speak to that Tennessee code and why we are using it to be in compliance with the law on a couple of these items. And she did give us some numbers last night, was here on item number 2. And she's been talking with, but there's no contract. And we did put the line down at the very bottom that no funds are authorized to be transferred for the above purchases until the amounts are established by the purchasing agent and agreements are signed. Well, tried to take in everybody's suggestions at the work session and last night at the budget committee. And there's some reasons why some things had to be put in the way they are.
Ms. Davis, you're recognized.
Okay. On construction projects, let's just separate them from cooperative agreements. So when you have certain projects like construction, architecture, landscaping, there's a couple different things that qualify. And if those projects are over $50,000, then they automatically are going to require an architect or an engineer, sometimes both. Obviously, when you get into building schools or jails, you're looking at designs that has to be done. So that's going to require an architect or an engineer. So if your project is over $50,000 and you're looking at public works, architect or landscaping, construction, then we are not allowed in Tennessee to do that under cooperatives. There's many things we can do under cooperatives. There's several items. Furniture is one of them. That's a good example. The list is endless of what comes under a lot of these cooperatives that we are eligible to purchase. Construction is not one of those. So that's kind of where the turf fell in under needing an engineer and architect. That project is going to be well over $50,000. And it's probably much more involved than just turf. You've got grading. I haven't even got into this enough to know really what is going to be required, but it's definitely over your $50,000 mark. So that's kind of where you separate construction away from cooperatives. That's about the simplest way I can explain that without going into a full-blown procurement 101, I guess. The lighting project, we're getting close to that. West Ridge, we're looking at $500,000 roughly to do the parking lot lighting. Confirmed on the athletic side, we're about at $1,350,000 to do athletic. That's pretty much turnkey. The only thing out there that could be hanging is if we do hit some rock. We're hopeful we're not going to have that issue. At East Middle, I have projected cost on that. We've not got the bids in. Parking lot to finish at East, we're roughly guessing around $100,000. On the athletic side, we're hoping it's around $675,000. I hope less, but to be safe, I'm gonna project $675,000 on that. So I hope in another month or so we're going to have that more definite locked in for the pricing on finishing out the lighting at East.
Okay, you've heard the explanation, and I have two questions. Commissioner Eckert, I assumed your question was for sponsor for both of them. Okay, you're recognized.
First one's for sponsor Sam. So I think you took everybody's observations and everything. So, but I guess and it may be just semantics. So we marked out, not to exceed 3 million or not to exceed 1.3 million, and just says for the amount of negotiated by the purchasing agent. So does that mean it can be any number?
No, it can be whatever the bids come back, whatever she negotiates.
Yeah. So what if they come back at 5 million?
Then, that's what's negotiated.
I mean, that's what that's why I just, I
And
felt like the language is correct. We should have said, you know, at a cost not to exceed 3 million. I don't know, but I mean, that's what I think we went from trying not to give a blank check to, in my opinion, we just gave them a blank check.
If I could say this, that at that point, it would be a decision of the school board.
Okay, I mean,
Right.
that's,
And if they pay 5 million, that's not.
They may not want to spend 5 million.
right. I mean,
do that.
it's their money. I mean, I think that's what has been, you know, we got to realize it's their money and they need to spend it and they need to finish these things.
Good
you know,
question.
and everything. So I just hope they realize how much. My other question is really for, I guess, maybe Chris. At the East Middle on the athletic fields, now I was involved with the BTS situation. And our purchasing price was a lot lower than the 675 that you're talking about.
For the second bid that we received,
Well, we were buying the Musco lighting for $386,000 for all the fields.
the bid came in for East. For the parking lot, it was around.
Right, we weren't involved in the parking lot. We were just doing all the ball fields, upfronting it, and then they were leasing it back for 25
And that's
years.
that's who's looking at it right now, is Musco.
Yeah, so in October, when we approved it from BTS to front the money, it was $386,000, and now it's $675,000.
That's just projected, David. It's got to go out to bid. I wasn't aware
You
of
know?
that. It's Musco.
I'm not sure.
Can't
that-
answer that, David. I'm sorry. I'm not aware.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm just trying to figure out why, you know, it got messed up because of the lease agreement and all that was going to happen.
Well,
You know?
I think that's a issue between purchasing department and BTS.
Well, no, we were asked to do it by the school board.
I don't think that's part of this conversation.
Well, I think it is when you're trying to say we're going to spend $675,000 on athletic fields and we had them bought. for
You have
$386,000,
authorized the purchasing agents
You know?
to make decisions for, and she is authorized by this county to make the best decision she can for Sullivan County. And this county commission will not negotiate nor authorize any agreement with any contractor at all.
Right. So I'll just say, maybe look at what was looked at then and just see if that can help. in anything, you
I
know?
hope she'll look at that.
Yeah.
And she will. I appreciate that. Okay. Next up, Commissioner Cross.
You had mentioned on here, sorry, thanks, sir. You had mentioned on here that, you know, some of these things are dealt with in a separate way, like with the construction and whatnot. So my question is not to you, but to the sponsor. Why were these not separated? Like a few of us had asked for into separate resolutions.
Well, yes, a couple of people did, but I decided to keep it all together because it's
Sam, I'll turn you back on. I don't know how,
there.
you're on.
Okay. We're authorizing in this, the school system to go to Chris to get the bids for these. They need to work on getting this stuff moved forward for the schools. There's a safety issue definitely out at East Middle School on the lighting. We've already had one injury out there for a teacher tripping in the dark. They're using portable lights, have been, from the racetrack to light the parking lot and the sidewalks. They had to take them out for the race. They've brought them back now. That's a definite issue that's got to be done. We're just authorizing as a commission the school system to go ahead and have Chris get the bids on these. And that's all we're doing. I mean, we are not spending the money. It's the school system spending the money. We're authorizing them to go to Chris to get the bids to do it.
And I understand that, and I understand that I'm not against any one thing in particular on here. I felt like, and maybe I was incorrect in reading the room, but I felt like there were quite a few commissioners who would like to have seen these separated, myself included, but maybe I was wrong in what I was thinking. I just felt that way. I apologize. I'm not against this or against one in particular thing. I'm just thinking in general, like, she's even saying some of these things need to be separated when we talk about them. Well, this is under one code and this is under something else. I think it would make it a lot easier if these were all separated out as we deal with it. That was all I had to say.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Broughton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Chris, thank you. Just to clarify this for me, some of this is out to bid. We currently don't have any solid estimates on any of this work.
Except for the lighting at West. That's correct. We've
The-
not started on the turf yet.
The lighting at West is the only thing we currently have a hard estimate on.
On this list, yes.
Okay. That's important to me because I know myself and other commissioners got text in July saying we had to approve the money in 5 days or folks wouldn't get turf. Because there's just so much misinformation going out. And the lighting at West, that's great. We got an estimate on that. It bothers me we don't have an estimate on the lighting at East. I know you can't help that. But you know, the school's been open
It's been
going on a
journey.
year now. It's
It's a
past
journey.
time.
We'll be glad, all of us, I think, to get past
Yeah.
that project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hutton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not actually sure who this question goes to. It may be the sponsor. I don't know. I'm curious about number 3 on here. Being married to a teacher who often reaches into her own pocket to pay for things. When I read this, it doesn't actually look like it actually goes to the teacher. I would like to know how this works. Do they have to spend $500 and they get reimbursed? Do they get this $500 and they can only use it for supplies? And then what they don't spend actually goes back to the school. That doesn't sound like it actually goes to the teacher. It sounds to me like it goes to the school into a specific fund for school supplies. That's if you're going to give teachers some help, just give them some flipping help. And I mean, that's a sticky wicket for me. And I see that you changed it to certified teachers. So I guess other folks aren't getting the money. So last week I asked, there's 750, right? Teachers? Or there's 700
Certified.
There's 700 certified teachers,
750.
750 certified teachers in Sullivan County, right?
Correct.
So that's why the amount stayed the same.
Right.
So, I mean, that's one of the things that makes this difficult for me. As I look through this, I agree with Commissioner Cross. I was pretty sure that we asked kind of for individual, to be able to vote on these individually rather than lump sum. I mean, I would love to see this thing about giving them $500 actually represent something that's given to teachers. I mean, how does it work? You drop 500? I know there's a lot of teachers that can they spend $500 to do that, and then they have to be reimbursed. How does that work?
Sammy, you want me to, did you want to recognize the chairman?
Well, there's a BEP amount, and Larry, if you'll come on that, Chairman Randall. There is a BEP amount of $200, but it part of it gets spent, part of it doesn't get spent. That goes to them. If it's given to them as my intent was to be able to offset what the teachers are taking out of their pockets and spending. And I know it varies from teacher to teacher. And like on the BEP money, that goes back into a pool. If they don't spend it, it goes back into a pool at that school where they are at. And sometimes the teachers go together and say, we want this big piece of equipment, whatever it may be, and pool their money together to get that. That's between the two.
How does this specific
That's
thing work?
between the teacher and the school principal. They get together, talk about where their needs are. And that's what we were trying to do, is to get additional money into the school. It's coming from the school system, but for specific needs at each school. Is
We
that
have
correct?
Chairman Jones in as well, and could you interpret how that would be?
Thank you. I
handled?
will try to do my best to explain to you how this will work. the $500 would go to each teacher, to the school where each teacher teaches, but the auditors require that they turn in receipts, therefore that it's important that those receipts be turned into the bookkeepers at the schools. Each certified teacher would, if there's 20 teachers, then you would get 20 times the $500 money going to the school, and each teacher then would have to turn in the money to the receipts to get their money reimbursed to them. There's also credit cards that can be used there at the school, should there be a need for that if the teacher doesn't have the money to where they want to front it up front. If they don't spend the entire $500, that money goes into a BEP pooled account that's been set up for years. I think it was actually set up by us in 2017 when they could leave that money there. And if the teachers want to spend it as a group, then they can do that. This is $500. If you all approve it, that goes to the school. If the teachers decide that they don't want to spend it individually, they may want to pool that money and make a major purchase there for the school. But once the money goes to school, it never comes back to the system. It stays there with the school, and the teacher then spends it either individually or they can get together as a group and spend it for a larger item. So it would be totally up to them. But once you authorize it, we'll write the checks to the school for the total amount that would go to the school. And we put certified, I think it came up last night in the budget discussion, we put certified so that teacher assistants wouldn't be expected $500, but it would be teachers who are actually assigned a classroom instruction. Money would not go there for the principals, but it would be there for those who actually have students.
Thank you, Commissioner Hutton, you're still recognized. Okay, Commissioner Blaylock, you're recognized.
Okay, Mr. Jones, I'd like to ask these questions for you. I sent a man, or rather I told someone, one of my constituents, to call you, Bill Moore. Did he call you?
No, he did not.
You did not?
No, he
He's
did
the
not.
president of the Lions Club, and he was very adamant about the fact that the Lions Club was very upset that there was not going to be a swimming pool at the West Ridge High School. So I told him to call you. What is the answer about the swimming pool at the West Ridge High School?
There is no swimming pool at West Ridge High School.
There is or not?
There is not.
There's not, is there not going to be one at all?
At this point, the answer is no. There's not money in the budget for that. There has been discussion about asking for architectural designs, but right now we have not entered into any contract with any architect for an architectural design. But at this current time, there's no plans for a swimming pool at West Ridge High School.
Okay. Then the second question that I've been asked is about the artificial turf. And they are talking about that soccer. Will soccer be played on that along with football?
The way the amendment was written, I think there was some discussion last night that said artificial turf at athletic facilities at West Ridge and Sullivan East Middle. This says football only here. If I remember correctly, last night, someone suggested that it say at the athletic facilities, and my answer then was, we didn't know if we could afford it at more than just the football field or not, but we wanted to bid it as an alternate for baseball and for soccer. So I can't give you an answer that it will be, but the primary things are football at Sullivan East High School and West Ridge High School. And if you want to change that amendment where it says athletic facilities with an addendum so we can take bids for baseball and soccer at both schools, then we would do that. But the way it's written now is just for football.
Well, I've read articles where it says that the artificial turf for soccer people is not good because they don't wear helmets. And the helmet problem is one of the problems with artificial turf. Did you all study the pros and cons of how dangerous artificial turf was versus not having I'm not saying I'm against artificial turf. I just don't know enough about it.
I promise you that was not me.
Was that Terry?
I don't know. I don't think it was anybody we see.
Okay, go ahead.
But in answer to your question, no, we have not talked about the health benefits of it. We do know that it's recommended by many athletic organizations. We know that most of the high schools in the area now have artificial turf, and most of the professionals have artificial turf. So I would not want to get into a debate
Have you
whether or not
checked
it's
into
whether or
schools
not it's
that
good
don't
for you.
have it and the ones that have had it and have decided not to have it anymore?
I do not know of any that's.
There are some schools that are.
I don't know of any that has changed their minds on it. I do know that some schools have had it for 10 years and they are now in the process or have just completed redoing it. And most of the schools in this area are going to it. The advantage of having artificial turf is so that you can play football
Yeah.
one night, you can have a band on it. And there's always a big problem with band people wanting to be on the football field, and the football coaches don't want them there. But once you have turf, you can play every day of the week on it, and it's not a problem.
Well, that's okay. I just wanted to ask these questions.
Right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Sponsor, it was discussed last night to change the word football to athletic.
It was in the middle of my notes. I guess I didn't
You want to
change that. I can change that for the athletics.
You want to propose amendment 3?
Do what?
You
Mark?
want to propose amendment 3 and change football to athletic?
The athletic fields.
That's what you talked about last night. I'm not advocating
Right,
for or
but-
not.
That would mean East High School and West Ridge, so athletic fields. It gives them the option. I can change football to athletic.
It would read, contract to design, construct, and install artificial turf surfaces for the athletic fields at Sullivan East High School and West Ridge High School for no more than the amount signed contract negotiated by the purchasing agent. Is that what the amendment you want to make?
Correct. Yes.
So we just changed the
Football to athletic.
to athletic. That's amendment number 3.
No, number 1. Oh,
That's amendment,
that would make,
amendment number 1 to amendment number 2. I'm sorry. Amendment number 1 to number 2. Okay, we're in proper section, Commissioner Glover.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a couple of things here, if you'll bear with me.
Oh, sure.
The first one's for the sponsor. And this is for the teachers. I guess that would be item number 2. And
number 3.
okay, well, we'll go 3. Sorry, okay. Excuse me, 3. I'd like for you to accept this amendment. And like I said, I got a couple of things. Just bear with me. Provide each teacher in the Sullivan County education system $500 for supplies and materials for use in their classrooms to enhance student learning for the 2021 school year. Guidelines provided by the Sullivan County Board of Education include authorizing each teacher to personally process an expenditure of $500 for the mentioned supplies and materials. So that would put the power of the money in the hands of the teachers instead of that BEP process that Randall was talking about, because they are limited to what they can buy through the BEP process. And I'd like to give you some examples of what some of the teachers has done. I watched a school board meeting there the other night, and in an average year, some teachers spend $1,000. Books, office supplies, art supplies, stuff for the students, food, even, snacks. And recently at a Board of Education meeting, one teacher stated, "How can you expect the students to be first when the teachers are always last?" And that's what I'm getting at. These teachers know more of what that $500 can go to than the BEP rules and regulations coming back to them. And there's no other job in this county where workers are asked to subsidize what should be a cost borne by the employer. That'd be like us hiring a welder at Eastman and telling them to bring their own welder to work with them every day. And that's what we're doing here. But I would like for you to accept that amendment to provide that $500 for the teachers. They might need some things for their rooms that don't qualify at that certain time for them to get. And then that way each teacher would get the $500 amount, if you'll accept that.
Well, they have that. And it's actually, they will have $700. There's another $200 they're getting they're getting already.
The way Mr. Jones explained it, it would go into a fund, and then they
No,
would
it
have to
goes
bring
into a
receipts
fund.
in to ask
If
for reimbursement.
if they get $500 to spend. If they elect not to use it, that goes into that pool thing is at $200, right? Every school is
They
set
get
up.
$500. If they don't spend the 500, it goes into that pool fund.
Is that $500 restricted on what they can spend
No.
it on?
As I said last night, they could spend it on candy if they want to, as long as they have the receipt and want to use it for giving to their kids for rewards.
Okay.
There's no restrictions. And the only reason it's called a BEP fund is, several years ago, the state changed the rules where you had the basic educational program, and we had to have a BEP fund, and that's why the title is BEP fund.
Okay.
It's just a naming process that was put in place several years ago. And there's no restrictions on what they can spend it for their classroom. They just can't spend more than 500. If they spend less than 500, it would go into that account, because when Sam and I talked, he said, what happens if they don't spend all their money?
Okay. That answers my question.
Okay.
But like I
I
said,
think what they're doing will do what you want to do. It's just that they have to turn receipts in so the audit people know that.
okay, because a lot of them working overtime hours, 17, 18, 20 hours a
Totally agree with
week.
you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but if I can move to my next question.
Sure, you've got the floor.
Since
You've
the
got floor.
Chairman Jones, it's questions for you. Would you define for me what technology would be for West Ridge?
I wish I could, but the pandemic has told us that we have lots of things that we need lots of things we didn't even know we needed when we started looking at technology. I'm not going to tell you it's all computers, because there are some technological things that we found that we didn't have once we had to go to online learning. So it's different things to different people.
So technology could mean computers, it could mean wiring, it could mean
it won't be the wiring, because the building will be wired for that, but it will be, mainly computers and, I won't say big screen TVs. That's not what it is. There's other things that have been invented since we started building the school that we didn't even know existed then.
what particular fund would this amount of money be coming out of in your?
Well, we have the fund balance, and we have also a reserve set up. I think it's got 1.3 million, I believe, in it for various capital needs. So we would take this money, this total amount of money, from three different reserve funds. One's called a BEP reserve. Years ago, there was an account set up called for a reserve. The state required that we have the BEP reserve, and then we no longer have to have that. We can spend it, but we have to budget that. So we'll move that money into this. We'll take money out of the fund balance, the undesignated fund balance, and then we have a capital reserve also set up. And I think we set that up 3 years ago.
Okay.
Because we knew there would be needs for the schools once we got started, for the both middle school and the high school.
Okay, here's my question.
Okay.
I was gave this update a few months ago, and in the original bond issue for the high school, you already had included in there for technology $700,000.
Yes, and as I said, there's things that we have that we're spending for technology already, but we also know that there's a need for additional things. And we recognized that a couple of years ago when we said any money that we have left over from at the end of the school year, we would put into some accounts and start to use that.
What type of technology was this $700,000 spent
A
on?
lot of that was for the computers that were going into the classroom. Some of it was CTE computers, regular classroom instructional computers, even the laptops. And we've spent quite a bit of money on laptops in this year. I think we tried to get where it's a one-to-one technology. That was a dream of ours. I know other school systems.
But that particular money was for the high school. It was $700,000 for the high school.
Right.
And that's where it should have been spent. And now you're wanting us
No,
to,
that money out of the bond issue was spent for the high school and the middle school. That money from the bond issue
No,
has not been spent anywhere else.
no, sir, this year specifically says high school technology,
That's what I'm-
$700,000.
Okay. So the money from bond issue could only be spent on two things, either the middle school or the high school. Could not be spent for anything else.
This was specified high school
Okay.
technology, $700,000. So why are we funding another up to $800,000 when you already got $700,000 in the bond issue
Again,
for
we
technology?
recognized the need that there was going to be additional money needed for that. And that's why we set the reserve up 2 or 3 years ago to allow for that. And all we're doing now is asking for your all's permission to use that money for the technology. We knew 750 was not enough then, but we didn't know how much more we would need. So we have found out since the pandemic that yes, there is a greater need for technology. than what existed even then when we started doing the budget.
So that's $700,000, you've bought computers and laptops and stuff for other
Well, a lot of that,
schools?
no, we have not used any of that 750 for any other school. By law, that would be a violation of state law. State
Well,
law.
then where's this money at now? It's $700,000.
It's already been spent for wiring for the schools and for other various things that go with the technology. The technology that we're asking now to buy is not just the total technology that we have.
So you're asking for $800,000 just for computers and laptops for the high school?
Again, I said earlier, there's more to it. I wouldn't dare say to you it's 800,000 for just computers and laptops. There's more things to technology than what's sitting in front of
The
us.
point I'm making is that you were awarded $700,000 in the bond issue for technology. And that's where that money should have been spent. And I just can't believe for one second that it cost $700,000 for just the wiring for the rooms.
I would not stand here before you and tell you that it costs that much for the wiring for the room. But if you go look at the building, you'll find there's all kinds of things that's in the school that's set up for that, whether it's wiring or additional things. And is there more money that we need? Yes, and that's why we're asking to use the 800,000.
I don't mind giving it to you once, but I don't want to give it to you
No.
twice.
Again, it's not a matter of giving, it's the matter of the money is the school system's money, and we're asking permission to use it. And that is a line item, and I understand a question on that. But I can't give you an answer that we're going to spend buy 800 computers at $1,000 each for $800,000. If we have 1,700 students, how much are we going to spend on each student for technology? There's various things that are needed that are technology oriented. Not just what's sitting in front of you.
Would an update on this particular amount of money be a problem to get? Because this was, like I said, a few months ago, and the $700,000 was there. It says high school technology, 700,000. And that's kind of what's got me here. I don't know why we would want to fund or let you guys transfer another up to $800,000.
We took the 800,000 out.
Yeah, but Sam, when
It
you,
says for the amount negotiated, we took out.
but it could be 700,000 more. If you've already paid for it once, why do we want to pay for it again?
You got a question?
Like I said, I'd like to know where the $700,000 has been spent on. I'd like to know where it went, because it was supposed to have been spent for technology. And now we're wanting to transfer over another 800,000, up to 800,000 for technology. And it's not been answered for me yet.
Well, I can't tell you that I can give you an item by item thing of this, but there is an audit that would be available that would show how much each check. I think you got a copy of all the checks that have been written. I think you asked for that earlier, if I'm not mistaken.
Never did receive it.
And you didn't receive a report showing how much has been spent in each category?
No.
You'll have that, and it's a detailed report showing what checks have been written, to which vendors, and to which contractors.
And that's the example that I was making last week, and Commissioner Cross has made, and some of the others. That's the reason this needs to be broken down into categories. It's so we can discuss each category and see, for example, something like this.
On the technology, you're looking for interactive student panels. Again, those are things that we probably didn't recognize was needed back 5 years ago, 4 years ago, we started planning school. We're looking for student devices. And we can operate without it. We can operate with, y'all operated the commission meetings here without all the technology that you have for years. Now, we can do that, but it's not what's best for students. This money is being spent on students. It's not being spent on the teachers. It's being spent on what's good for the students.
That's just like the $750,000 that was awarded to the middle school for the sewer station that never was accounted for. We were told that got absorbed. Did this $700,000?
That's off the subject. Okay, keep to it.
If you want to go back,
Ask a question.
Okay.
if you want to go back and debate on
I
facts,
don't want you to answer
okay,
that question.
I appreciate that.
Ask a question.
I have no more questions. I won't
Okay,
be
that's
supporting
good.
this.
That's kind of good. We got a long list. Folks, I'm going to tell you, let's keep our questions succulent and keep them effective and to the point. So, Commissioner, not that yours weren't, Commissioner Stanley.
Thank you, Chairman. I was gonna ask the sponsor if he would remove number 1 under the amendment, the one with the turf fields off of this resolution, because if it fails, it fails.
Sure.
And I have another resolution that I had filed because I was assuming that you were going to separate these the way we had agreed. I thought that you was going to go look at them and call me with them, but
Commissioner, could I advise you on, could I advise you on procedure?
I'm sorry, sir.
Could I advise you on procedure?
Yes, sir.
If it fails, your resolution is still there. It doesn't have to be removed. If this resolution fails, your resolution is still there. You don't have to remove it.
Okay.
From this one. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay. Commissioner Akers.
Thank you, Chairman. I would just like to say something positive. I've sat here since September of 2018. And unless I'm mistaken, this is the first time we've been addressed by the chairman of the school board. And I want to say thank you. I look forward to a better future. I think even though there's good questions and rightfully so, I think he's answered them so far. I mean, as best he could. And I just glad to see him here communicating. Thank you, Randall.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Starnes, you're recognized.
I have a question for Chairman Jones, but first let me explain to Mark, and I don't know how they do it where your wife teaches. But like Chairman Jones says, we get so much money and we have to get prices on things, and then we get purchase orders and take them to the stores, and we have credit cards. So it's like a big account for us, and we never, if we use that account, we don't spend our money, our own personal money. Now we end up spending money, but then does that help you any? Okay.
Chairman's and well.
Thank you. I'm going to ask a couple of questions, but I'm leading up to my other question.
Okay.
Is swimming still in the PE curriculum?
Is swimming still what?
In the PE curriculum?
It can be, but to have swimming in the curriculum at a high school level, you have to have a certified swimming person on duty, and you'll find that most high schools does not during the day. Even if you have a swimming pool at Tennessee High, sometimes that's closed during the day. It's actually off limits because unless that certified person is there, they can't have students in there. You can't just say that the phys ed teacher is going to teach swimming. And I'm not sure who the certified teacher, if they have one on. But when I was principal there, we had to close the swimming pool area because the teacher on that particular day was not there. So
Okay.
It is in the curriculum or can be in the curriculum if we have the teacher who's certified to teach it. But you cannot just allow a phys ed teacher to go in and teach a class, even though they may be a good swimmer. They have to have that certification.
Okay. And you said right now we're not getting bids for a pool?
Right now, we are not getting bids for a pool. There was a proposal that we asked for architectural drawings, but you have to have the drawings before you can actually get the bids, and the drawings are 5% of the projected cost of a pool. We actually had a cost figure for the pool, and it was anywhere from $3 to $6 million, depending on the type of pool that you were doing. So if you do a 5%, you're looking at $30,000 at least to actually to do the drawings. So unless there's money available for it, there is no need at this point to spend that $30,000 just to get the drawings, and there's not money in the budget for a pool. I have presented a proposal to a couple of different people about the possibility of the county going in with the city, with the school system, and actually having a water park type swimming pool area on campus at West Ridge High School. And I threw that out there as an idea where we would provide the land, and the county commission then would fund. Is that not what I said, Mark? That we would provide the land and someone else would provide the money, and it would be a joint venture. But I've mentioned that to a couple of different commissioners when we've talked about some possibilities. But for us to have a swimming pool, we'd have to have a separate facility, a separate building. And at this point, I don't think we have any teachers on duty, on staff, who are certified, I believe. I don't think so. not with Sullivan County.
I've just been reminded that we kind of strayed from what the resolution is. There's a lot of things that aren't in there. A pool being one of them. So I apologize for letting it stray. And thank the commissioner.
Well, I guess my question is, and I know football brings in the most money. It keeps your other sports afloat. I know that. But why are we talking about turf when we don't even have a pool? I can't go back to my constituents and say I chose football over swimming when their kids swim. Do you see what I'm saying?
Commissioner Vance. Okay, are you,
No.
okay. I got a feeling that was a rhetorical question. Commissioner Hutton, you were on next on the list.
Thank you. I just need some clarification on, number one. Did you actually amend this, Mr. Jones?
I did. To athletic,
To athletic?
yes.
Okay, well, I'm just curious. I mean, I know a lot of the schools, I know Tennessee High and others, they actually play soccer on, it's a combined field. I mean, because the way it sounds to me, it sounds like all the athletic fields at the schools could be turfed. I mean, is that what's going to happen? Or that's why I'm saying.
That was what was discussed, last night. in the budget.
That's what you said a moment ago. That's what it sounded a minute
The
ago.
soccer field is a practice field, and what was discussed last night was adding the other athletic facilities just in case. My guess is that the soccer field would not get turf, but to cover all bases, we wanted to be able to look at what the cost would be. Should we need to have that soccer field as a practice field, have turf on it? But we have the practice field for soccer. We got the baseball facilities, and
So what you're saying is that what you're trying to do with this one is to be able to turf all the fields.
no, be able to get a price for turf in all the fields. And that was not my suggestion last night, but it was somebody on the budget committee that asked that question. We were simply asking for football, but in order to cover all areas, we had questions about baseball. And while you're looking at baseball, then it might be wise to go ahead and get a price on the practice field, turf for the practice field, because then that can be used for band practice and other things too. See, this is a multi-purpose facility, when you start looking at some of what we have.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Well, it's, and again, that would be done as an alternate bid, because we did alternate bids when we actually did the bids for the high school to begin with. So we'd do an alternate bid for the baseball field. Someone asked about East High School. We said we'd do an alternate bid for the baseball field at East High School. And then we do the alternate bid for East High School baseball, West Ridge baseball, and West Ridge practice soccer, plus the football fields at both places.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner King.
Thank you, Mayor. On number one, when you did away with the
Is your
football,
question Sam, the sponsor, or the chairman?
I guess, well, let's see. Sam, I'll talk to you first.
Okay, thank you.
Stand up, Sam. Yeah. But anyway, I'm just kidding. But seriously, when we was talking football field at Sullivan East High School and West Ridge, we was talking apples to apples. Now we're talking about the athletic fields, and who knows what we're going to get bids on. There's no soccer played at East High School, so we're not going to have a soccer field at East High School. So where at?
Randy,
Okay, but still, you know, you lost me on this one. I was ready to vote for this. If it's football, where we know apples to apples, what we're getting. But when you started putting all this other stuff in there, you've lost me on that. And then on number 3, when these teachers get that $500, is that taxable?
No.
If they send you a check, is
No.
that taxable?
No.
How does that work?
Well, he just explained it.
But he kept saying you give it to the teachers. That's where I'm at. You know, if you give it to the teachers,
we're
Is that
gonna
income
have
amount?
we're gonna have question and answer and opinion. Now, you've got questions, so go ahead and do them. and we're
I
not
guess that was my question. Is that income or not? And if they don't spend it, I know that they said it, but there's that's kind of cloudy to me.
It is not income if we write the check to the school and then the school actually reimburses the teacher once they turn their receipts in, that's not income to the teacher. It doesn't go on their check or anything else, but the check will actually go to the school. And then when they spend the money, the school will write a check to that teacher to reimburse them up to the $500. Because that's what we are asking for approval here. If they only spend $400, they'll write a check for $400 to the teacher, and the other $100 will go into the pool account there for them to spend later on. And the advantage of doing that is they may not want to spend all 500 this year. They may want to spend some of it this summer. So
once it goes in the pool, then who's in control of it?
once it goes into the pool, the teachers at the school would decide how they wanted to spend it. It wouldn't be an itemized by the individual teacher. If there's one that says Dwight King, once you don't spend your 500, that goes into the BEP pool, and the teachers then would have to decide how to spend. They don't keep a running track the next year of what you did not spend, but it would all be one lump sum.
So if 5 teachers didn't spend their money, those 5 teachers could say, we want to spend it on this.
For all the teachers at school, they have
teachers.
they have a committee.
That's the third time we've heard that.
I know.
Go ahead.
All right, okay. All right, I'm done.
We're in recess till 8:45.
I knew it. There you go.
Invite everybody back in. I'm sorry. We can invite commissioners back to their seats and we'll get ready to go. And I would like to, we still got a pretty good list, so we'll go on through that. Had a good discussion thus far. Thank you. Mr. Jones, I'm going to recognize you. You're recognized.
I'm going to amend this resolution one more time, and I'm going to take out item number 3. It seems to be causing some heartache to some people or misunderstanding. So let's just remove it. Take out number 3.
That would be amendment number 2.
Number 3.
Well, you would remove number 3.
On the yellow sheet.
The clerk would record it as amendment number 2 to amendment number 2. To delete item number 3. Okay, we're ready to go. Without objection, our tradition is to allow the sponsor to amend his own resolution. Commissioner Broughton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. And this is just the same. The thing that bothers me the most about this, whenever this was on first reading last month, I asked for estimates then and we were told we will have them. And, it's just, I just feel like everything ought to be broke out separate because of that. Like, for example, the pool, they say, well, we're not building a pool because we don't have the money. You kind of need to know what something costs before you know whether or not you can really afford it. And that kind of bothers me. But like I said, I just wanted it broke out separate.
For those that keep asking that, y'all talked about it, but I never made any kind of statement. If you go back and listen to it, I never made a statement about breaking anything out, Todd. And the pool was put in there in that original resolution. That was my own thoughts, but when I talked to the school, I took them out. First of all, I found out then that East, they're already under contract and rebuilding, taking care of that. Their pool, it's been closed for 2 or 3 years, maybe longer. They haven't even been able to use it. It was already under a contract to be done. So that's why I took it out. I mean, that was my own reason for doing that. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Next up, Commissioner Cross, you're recognized.
Yes, I have 3 questions and they're pretty quick. Well, 2 are pretty quick. One is restrictions. I just wanted to clarify one more time.
Just for the sponsor?
No, this is actually for Chairman Jones. He doesn't have to come all the way up if he doesn't want.
Well, we got to get him recorded. So.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to make sure and just hear it one more time straight out. There were no, and I know it's been taken out. I understand that, but there were no restrictions on BEP spending, correct?
No, there was no restrictions on it.
Thank you very much. That was all I had. The second one, I guess honestly, this might be for you too, so I'm sorry. But with the different turf and the athletic fields versus football field and the way that's been going back and forth, if you turf a baseball field, according to Title IX, would you have to also turf the softball fields as well?
In all probability, yes. That's why we said athletic facilities. So
Yes, sir. And I
would be covered on that, but I would never do something for the boys that we wouldn't do for the girls on that. That would be.
Absolutely. No, I wanted to make sure the commission was aware that with Title IX, yes, all sports, football has no Title IX opposites.
Right.
Thank you. And the last thing I would like to do is make a formal motion to divide this question into 5 pieces.
That is proper motion. Have a second, Commissioner Broughton.
There's only 4 now.
I'm going to, probably consult with our county attorney and make,
into 4 pieces since since I liked number 3, honestly.
Well.
But since, I mean, if we're going to divide it,
that's I'd say that's a proper motion, properly second. Now we're in discussion. Mr. Sponsor of the motion, you're recognized.
so as the sponsor of the motion, I have a question. Can we do all 5 even though he's amended the 3rd one out?
He would have to accept amendment to put it back in.
Would you accept that? If it was voted on singularly?
There seemed to be a lot of opposition to it. I was very much in favor because I wanted to help the teachers
And it could
out
stand
of
on
their
its,
pocket, but
and it could-
there's a lot of, either they don't understand, after it's been explained about 3 times how the money's handled and there's no restriction on it, still had opposition to it.
this would allow it to stand on its own merits. You wouldn't have to remove it. It could be voted on by itself. And if it didn't pass, it didn't pass.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I put it in there because I felt like teachers needed that kind of support.
Well, I think he said, do you want to put it back in to when you separate the question and vote on it, Sam?
I don't want to put it back. I don't want to separate the vote.
That,
You said you don't want to?
I don't want to.
he doesn't want to separate the question.
Oh, well, he's against that, so,
I mean,
y'all
vote.
okay, discussion on the question. I have a list of 3 people. Did you all want to speak on the motion that's on the floor now? And I'll leave you on there the way you are. If you want to speak on the original motion for the adoption of the amended resolution. So anybody put on now will be speaking to the motion. So, Mr. Vance, you want to speak to the motion? Now?
No, sir, I said I'll wait.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to check back in then when we get back on the motion. Mr. Cole, do you want to speak on the motion or the?
What amendment and what motion, where are we at right now? There's been so many amendments.
I think that's, excuse me, that's a very good question. We're on Amendment 2.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to paraphrase these amendments. Amendment 2, Amendment 1 to Amendment 2 was to remove the word football and put athletics. And so that wheat colored sheet you have, and Amendment 2 to Amendment number 2 was to remove item number 3. That's where the original resolution is. So mark out item number 3, add athletic instead of football, and that is the resolution. Now, the motion before you is to divide the question. And as I understood the motion, it was divide the question into 5 different areas, but you amended 4.
Because he did not want to include.
He did not want to include that in. Is that where we are?
Does Commissioner Cross need a second? Or does he have a second? Okay.
I'm sorry. You didn't have any comment?
No.
Okay. Mark, I've still got you on Dan Street. You're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, when we have forever allowed the sponsor of a resolution to what Mr. Jones has done here is to remove 3 to amend his own resolution. We have always allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
However, I've always clarified that if the body opposed it, they don't have to accept that. And that was the question posed as to whether they had to accept that or not. The body can actually vote whether or not they want to remove number 3.
Yeah. I agree with you, Mr. County Attorney, but I've not felt like it's my place as chairman to instruct members on proper or on the use of Robert's rules. So you're exactly right. So having said that, we'll move on. And I do agree with you. Let's see. Any discussion? Go ahead, and this is on the
On the amendment.
amendment. Thank you, Mr. Hutton.
Did
You're
the-
recognized.
Did the sponsor accept the amendment?
No. On removing number 3, no.
I mean, on even separating, did he agree to the separating them out?
That's the one he did.
I don't have to.
I don't think, he wasn't requested to separate them. We had a motion to separate them. But we'll give him the opportunity to do that. You want to separate it without voting on it, on the motion, Sam, or you want to vote on whether to separate the question?
And just
You can require.
call each one as we go down. And if I knew there was support for number 3, I'd put it back in. Then
We can't take a practice vote, Sam. You either got to run it or not run it.
I've been asked to put 3 back in and separate the vote, and I'll agree to that.
Okay.
Let's do it. Call for the question, Mr. Chairman. I hate to cut the debate off to call the question. Let's vote. We're going to separate them.
Okay, we're on the motion to separate into 5 with Mr. Jones. Let's make sure where we are. He accepted the amendment to add number 3 back on. So, Mr. County Attorney, I'm going to ask you to direct us on the motions, and we'll have to have a motion on each item.
Well, you mean to vote on each item?
Would you turn your mic on, please?
I thought I heard Sam say he agreed to the separation.
Correct.
So,
I'm sorry, I did not hear that, Sam. I just thought you agreed to put number 3 back in.
For all 5.
Okay.
and then we have,
I don't think he can do that, Dan, because this is a motion. It's not amendment to his.
well, it's actually treated as a motion, but if there was objection, no, he couldn't do it on his own. If there's objection, you'd have to vote on it. Is there any objection to splitting it into 5 votes?
No.
So I would declare that.
I disagree with that.
Well, you can vote on it. I mean, there's a motion to.
Well, I don't think that I, as chairman, have the authority to decide what's a motion and what's not a motion. And you're saying that's not a motion.
The motion to divide is a motion, yeah.
That is a motion, and I can't decide whether we do that or not. It's on the floor and seconded, and we were debating it. I mean, we do have pretty loose rules on sponsorship of resolutions to amend them and things, but I don't, if I can decide that that's not a motion, and Sam, you like that, I don't think that's proper.
I'm not sure I'm following what you're saying, Mr. Chairman.
If he withdraws his motion, I'll divide the question.
He agreed to
divide
divide the question is all.
we do that?
I don't think we can do that, and I'm going to rule that we can't do that. I'm going to rule that we have to vote on the motion. Okay, Commissioner Hutton, you want to be recognized.
I was just gonna, Commissioner Vance called the question, so
That cuts off all debate.
I didn't recognize him. He didn't have to be recognized, and he made a motion out of order.
Well, thank you very much. Can I have the floor now, Mr. Chairman? Point of
Would
order.
you like to call the question, Mr. Vance?
Call the question, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection, we're on the question.
That means.
And the question is, the question is, are we going to vote on individual? We're going to divide the question. That's what you're voting on.
Yeah.
So if you want to divide the question and vote 5 different times on this, vote yes.
Right.
If you don't want to and want to vote on this as a whole, vote no. And then we'll go on from there.
Yes, sir.
Good? Madam Clerk, would you take a vote on the motion to divide the question, properly seconded?
Akerd,
Yes.
Blaylock. Broughton.
Yes.
Carlton. Oh, she's on. No, okay. Thank you. Cole?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Cross?
Yes.
Crosswhite? Do I mark her as absent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shouldn't take excitement no longer.
Gardner?
Yes.
George? Glover?
Yes.
Parker Road?
Yes.
Hutton?
Yes.
Jones?
No.
King?
Yes.
Leonard?
Yes.
Locke? Morel?
No.
Pierce?
Yes.
Stanley?
Yes.
Starnes?
Yes.
Stidham?
Yes.
Vance?
No.
Woods?
No.
16. So we voted. 16. 5, 6, 2.
Would anyone like to change their vote? I have 16 yes, 6 no, 2 absent.
Having received necessary majority, the motion is adopted. Commissioner Vance, for what reason?
I have a comment and I have a motion.
Okay, that's perfectly in
All
order.
right. Mr. Chairman, I went back and talked to Chairman Jones earlier. And this resolution, out of the 5 basic items that was put in this resolution, 4 of those items was voted on and approved by the Board of Education. Item 1, item 2, item 4, and item 5. The Sullivan County Board of Education never voted on number 3. And I feel in the best interest, I'll make a motion to have that one be removed. And would appreciate a second to have that one be removed, since we're taking each item individually. Putting an item like this in the budget or in a resolution that's not been approved by the Board of Education is, I think, overreaching our boundaries of managing our school system. So my motion is to remove number 3, Mr. Chairman.
You heard the motion. We have a second. We have a second. Motion dies for lack of a second. Item 3 remains in. And now, Mr. County Attorney, I'm going to need your direction on the vote. I believe I need a motion on the adoption of item number 1 on item, amendment number 2 to the resolution. Is that proper?
I would conclude that since the sponsor filed the resolution, that it has its motion. So you don't need a motion, you just vote.
Just vote. Okay, that's very good. I'm happy with that. Okay, on item number 1, which is before you, the clerk will call the roll and vote yes or no. Thank you, Mr. County Attorney. Appreciate that. Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Akerd?
Yes.
Blaylock? Abstain? Broughton?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
could we just clarify on these abstentions? They changed the law now, and if you abstain for cause, then you're not included in the tally. If you just pass, you don't want to vote, then you are included in the tally. And I apologize for jumping in there, but
No,
it could make a difference.
That's very good. Very
If you
good.
want to abstain for cause, then, for example, if one of you does that, then we have a total of 23 votes. In that case, it only takes 12 to be a majority. If you're just passing, then that's different. That's just a pass and you don't care, and there's still 24 votes. I shouldn't say you don't care. You just don't want to vote. So you need to be clear. If you're abstaining for cause, which you have the right to do, you need to say abstain please, I'm not directing you.
Well,
Say abstain for cause, and then you come off the total number of votes. We drop down to 23. And then if we have another abstain for cause, you drop down to 22. And it makes a difference.
I would, what could you define what cause is for us, Dan? I don't know. I think you'd have.
I think that to be determined by them as to whether or not they have a conflict. They feel like they have a conflict in their vote.
And we would just accept that?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So terminology is pass, or if you're abstaining for cause.
Either way, abstain or pass. At the end, she says they want to change their vote.
Yeah, and you have that opportunity to do that. If you pass. Both of you passing. I'm sorry. I didn't turn you on.
Thank you. Could I get the resolution clarified? The reason I abstained, because my notes here are a little sketchy, is this just on the football fields or is it everything?
It's on the amendment, the resolution, item number 1 as amended on everything, on athletic fields.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you.
So let's start voting again.
Okay.
And if you will, Madam Clerk, would you?
Start at the beginning again.
Let's go back to the pass and clarify whether Commissioner Blaylock wants to pass or abstain.
Either way, I can change my vote. I'm going to abstain.
And Broughton. Okay. Calton,
Yes.
Cole, Crawford,
Yes.
Cross,
Yes.
Crosswhite, Gardner.
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Glover,
No.
Parker Road,
Yeah.
Hutton.
Yeah.
Jones,
Yes.
King.
No.
Leonard,
Yes.
Locke, Morrell,
Yes.
Pierce, Stanley,
Yes.
Starnes,
Yes.
Stidham,
Yes.
Vance,
Yes.
and Woods.
No.
Would anyone like to change their vote? Anyone else?
Two absent. 24, 23.
I have 17 yes, 4 no, 2 absent, and 1 abstain.
Having received necessary majority, item number 1 is approved. Next up, item number 2. Everybody know where we are. It's item number 2 to amendment number 2 on amendment number 2. So, Madam Clerk, take the vote on item number 2.
Akerd,
Let there be light.
Blaylock,
Yes.
Broughton, Calton,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Cross, Crosswhite, Gardner,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Glover,
Yes.
Parker Road,
Yes.
Hutton,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King, Leonard,
Yes.
Locke, absent. Morrell,
Yes.
Pierce, Stanley,
Yes.
Starnes, Stidham, Vance,
Yes.
and Woods.
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? I have 22 yes and 2 absent.
Have received necessary majority, item number 2 is adopted. The motion to remove 3 failed for lack of a second, so 3 is still in. Hello? Okay. Item number 3 is still in. And so we will be voting on item number 3 now. As originally in the resolution. Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Akerd,
Yes.
Blaylock, Broughton, Alton,
Yes. Yes.
Cole, Crawford,
Yes.
Cross, Crosswhite, Gardner, George, Glover, Parker Road,
Yes.
Hutton, Jones,
Yes.
King, Leonard,
Yes.
Locke, Morrell,
Yes.
Pierce, Stanley,
Yes.
Starnes,
Yes.
Stidham,
Yes.
Vance,
Yes.
Woods.
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? I have 21 yes, 1 no, and 2 absent.
Have received necessary majority, item number 3 is adopted. And the clerk, you're earning your money tonight. We're ready to vote on item number 4. Would you take the vote on item number 4?
Akerd, Blaylock, Broughton, Calton,
Yes.
Cole, Crawford,
Yes.
Cross, Crosswhite, Gardner, George, Glover, Parker Road,
Yes.
Hutton, Jones,
Yes.
King, Leonard,
Yes.
Locke, Morrell,
Yes.
Pierce, Stanley, Starnes, Stidham, Vance, Woods.
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? I have 21 yes, 1 no, 2 absent.
Have received necessary majority, item number 4 is adopted. Next up, item number 5, to amendment number 2. Madam Clerk.
Akerd, Blaylock, Broughton, Calton,
Yes.
Cole, Crawford,
Yes.
Cross, Crosswhite, Gardner. George. Glover. Harker.
Yes.
Hutton. Jones. King. Leonard.
Yes.
Locke. Morel. Pierce. Stanley. Starnes. Stidham. Vance. And Woods.
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? I have 17 yes, 4 no, 2 absent, and 1 abstain.
Have received the necessary majority. Item number 5 is adopted. And that concludes our actions on item number 3.
I'm sorry? Oh, Andrew did?
I'm sorry, Andrew, you're recognized.
Even though all 5 of those passed, and it would have passed in obviously one vote, I felt, and I wanted to apologize to the commission if I wasted any time there. I just felt the need to separate those and vote on each one by its merits. And I thought I was very compelled to do that. And I think the vote on the separation of the question showed that.
It's every commissioner's right and opportunity, and actually, if you feel that way, your obligation. So no apology is necessary. I would like to thank the commission for your patience with me on that one. That was a tough one for you. It was a tough one for me. So, so we'll go on to 4, 5, 6, 7 is on consent. We're up next is item number 8. Commissioner Stanley, would you like to withdraw that? Commissioner Stanley, do you want to withdraw item number 8?
Yes, sir.
Without objection, item number 8 is withdrawn from the commission. We can vote on it again if you like. Do it twice. Item number 9, Commissioner Mark Vance, you're recognized on item number 9. There you go. Oh, you push the button again. I don't push it anymore.
First reading.
First reading. Without objection. Angie, what, push button. What's your question?
If it's okay with the sponsor, I was asked to ask you if you could do waiver of rules, since this was the Securus grant.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem and doing them first reading or calling the question. The Securus grant, this is the completion of the Securus grant. Lee Cardwell called me and Frank Horn this week, said, would I sponsor the resolution? And I said, we'll put it on first reading. The grant has to be completely be spent by December 31st. There is no rush, but if the commissioners want to go ahead and pass it as it is, they can. I just made the point that I said do first reading because I don't like bringing stuff here at the last minute and dropping it on you. So it's up to wishes of you all. If you all want to vote for it, we'll vote for it.
Okay, this is on item number 9, seconded by Commissioner Hunter Locke. Any discussion? Mr. Vance changed his motion for immediate introduction and adoption of item number 9. Any discussion? We're on the question. Madam Clerk, would you take the vote on item number 9 on first reading?
Akerd.
Yes.
Blaylock. Broughton. Calton.
Yes.
Cole. Crawford.
Yes.
Cross. Crosswhite. Gardner. George. Glover.
Yes.
Harker.
Yes.
Hutton. Jones? King? Leonard?
Yes.
Locke? Morel? Pierce? Stanley? Starnes? Stidham? Vance? Woods?
Yes. You're out of order.
Would anyone like to change their vote? I have 22 yes, 2 absent.
Have received necessary majority. Item number 9 is passed. And I appreciate you keeping our next calendar clear, Mark. Next up, item number 10. Commissioner Morrell, you're recognized on item number 10. Commissioner Aker, you had sought recognition. Let me do that first round.
Well, I was just gonna make a comment. I appreciate Commissioner Vance's comments on that, but when it's a grant, we need to spend it and it's ready to go. As late as we don't want to get it, I think that was an appropriate time. We're here, vote, let's go, and everything. So, thank you.
Thank you. That helps keep our calendar clear for next month rather. Commissioner Morrell, you're recognized on item number 10.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this resolution is authorizing the sale of a portion of the Houston Valley Middle School property that is actually in the Sullivan County's name on that. As you read down through the resolution, it's earmarked on the attachment as parcel number 2, probably about 5.5 acres of this. It's part of it's in a 100-year floodplain. It's been like that for a long time. Part of this track, the field lines, which is a septic tank system for the school, actually runs over onto this property also. This has been bid out and bid off, and we do have a proper bidder on that. And this track was bid out for $20,000. The other, if you look on the map, you'll see parcel 1. That is what's in the school board's name. It mainly has all the structures to it and all the improvements to it. Okay, that also was bid out to a proper bidder at for $100,000. Okay, on that. I hope that you had a chance to look at your email. You should have received something like this in your email, and it is simply a Houston Valley School project. The bidder is the proper bidder that got the bid is actually the same individual that got Bluff City Middle School. And as you've had a chance to look through it, I think it's a real good thing. I believe the community's real open to it. It's something that if you read any of it at all, it's Kids Like Us Community Learning Center. I feel like that as I've looked through this project list of what they're wanting to do with what the new bidder, what our new owner will be wanting to do with it, it seems like it's the highest and best use for property, and also the best use and interest for the community out there in the county too. Just kind of skimming through this, they're going to have, and they're not competing with our school system in any way, but they're going to have ages 2 to 3. They're going to have some classrooms there that they'll be teaching these children, age 3 and 4 and age 4 and 5. I'm just flipping through what's on your email. The library is going to be utilized as a tiny town. And I've never really heard that before, but they're teaching toddlers and things about the makeup of a city, a hospital, grocery store, things like that. Of course, there'll be a nursing station there and things like that. The gym will be utilized, playground outside. The cafeteria is going to be utilized as a community center, Houston Valley Community Center out there. It'll be open for banquets, business meetings or community, possibly community activities, things like that, birthday parties, retirements, wedding receptions. There'll also be a ministry out there, Good Samaritan Ministries. Sir? Okay, I just wanted to kind of, and I would like to, I don't like putting things on waiver rules also, but I was talking to Chris, our purchasing agent. She believes that we need to go ahead and put this on the waiver of rules and just go ahead and get this filled on out to the end.
The gentleman renews his motion for the immediate introduction and adoption of item number 10, properly seconded by Commissioner Vance. Any discussion? Any questions? Commissioner Akers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. And Randy, I think it's just appropriate I ask you this question since we're selling this land. Are there any deed restrictions that you know of on this
Well,
property?
that's a good question.
Yeah.
There are deed restrictions. I understand Mr. Pat Hull had put those on the parcel one.
I didn't think we would answer that.
You know, they
That is
may,
parcel 1 and not parcel 2, which is partial, this is dealing with parcel 2.
this is just parcel two. You know, they may fall over onto that. I mean, there's this track here is under 100-year floodplain and there's some septic tank field lines on it.
Mr. Treacher,
Don't know if
Treacher,
there's much more we could do with it.
Mr. Treacher, recognized.
Yes, thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, no.
Commissioner Morrell, you asked me to write those restrictions to not let it be used for junk and stuff like that, and we put it in the bid document. So I assume I'll be preparing the deed for this. I was assuming that I would put those restrictions in this deed, but then you just said I wasn't going to.
Okay, I stand to be corrected. I thought that we were talking about parcel one. Okay, I did request that, but this is parcel two. You know, I'm perfectly well with it, with whatever restrictions are on the parcel one to be on parcel two.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Not cleared up? I don't understand, but I don't need to. Any further discussion? Don't see anybody on the board. We're ready to vote. Require 16 votes for passage. Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Akers? Yes. Blaylock? Broughton? Yes. Alton?
Yes.
Cole? Crawford?
Yes.
Cross? Crosswhite? Gardner? George? Glover? Harker Road?
Yes.
Hutton? Jones? King? Leonard?
Yes.
Locke? Morrell? Pierce? Stanley? Starnes? Stidham? Vance? Woods?
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? I have 22 yes, 2 absent.
Have received the necessary majority. Item number 10 is adopted. Next up, item number 11. Commissioner Vance, you're recognized on item number 11. You're on.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this resolution was brought to the Budget Committee yesterday, and me and Mr. Gardner decided to sponsor this. This is a grant, COVID-19 grant, vaccination. And whereas the Sullivan County Health Department received a grant from the state of Tennessee in the amount of $505,240, I had a question why that figure was in there. Mr. Mays called me last night and said, what this is an additional grant on top of that grant there that they've already received $505,000, which he's requesting this resolution to be approved to accept the $161,000, an additional grant that ties to the one that's already been approved before of the amount of $505,240. And if there's no problem with this, we'll call the question on this as well.
You've heard the explanation, properly seconded. Mr. Vance renews his motion for immediate introduction and adoption of item number 11. Any discussion? Commissioner Cross, you're recognized.
There any matching funds on this?
No, sir. Nope.
Further questions? There you go, Angie. You're recognized.
This has been amended to provide COVID vaccinations.
Yes, what this grant is for is they're having to hire someone and go ahead and start the process for the vaccine to be ready to be administered. So they're moving in that direction, the vaccine. So this grant gets the personnel and the supplies in position so that when the vaccine does come available, that's what's going to be for.
Thank you. Good question. Another question. We're ready to vote on item number 11. Require 16 votes for passage. Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Akerd?
Yes.
Blaylock? Broughton?
Yes.
Calton?
Yes.
Cole? Crawford?
Yes.
Cross? Crosswhite? Gardner? George? Glover? Harkroad?
Yes.
Hutton? Jones? King? Leonard?
Yes.
Locke? Morrell? Pierce? Stanley? Starnes? Stidham? Vance? And Woods?
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? I have 22 yes, 2 absent.
Have received the necessary majority. Item number 11 is adopted. Next up, item number 12. Commissioner Dwight King, you're recognized on item number 12.
Thank you, Mayor. Probably need a waiver of rules on this also. But this resolution is authorized the county and mayor to complete the contract with the MBI Companies Incorporated architectural firm for the new Sullivan County Jail addition consistent with the plans approved by the body. The bonds, $80 million amount of bonds has been put on the bond market, and the closing on the bond sale is scheduled later this month. So the remaining step for us is the formalization of the contract with MBI to complete the detailed contract. So with that said, we issued the bonds. The bond market will be over this month, so we need to go ahead and get the contract so we can get a set of plans drawn. So I urge all commissioners to approve this so we can go ahead and get started.
Thank you, Mr. King. But Commissioner King moved for the immediate introduction and adoption of item number 12, seconded by Commissioner Sam Jones. Mr. Street, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is probably a stupid question because I think it says right there, but I just wanted to make sure. When they did the presentation, they kept talking about building the shell for some additional beds. I assume the last paragraph there and there now therefore be it resolved where it says including the additional 224 inmate bed build out. Does that include going ahead and then building that out?
I think it's just a shell.
Just the shell?
Well, I'm going to ask Mr.
Is
Bailey
that right?
to address that. Mr. Bailey, would you address that? Let me turn you on, Larry.
In the bidding process. Without it in the drawing, you can't really operate it off.
Did everyone hear that? No. Okay, Larry, would you go ahead and do that again?
Oh, you turned me off? Okay.
I did.
Okay. without having that extra 224 beds in drawings, you can't really offer it for bid because you don't know what it's going to be costing. And so the plan was to develop the basic, as you all heard a presentation on, and then offer this as an addition. If it's within the money, then it can be included also. But if you don't have the plans, you can't include it. You don't know what it's going to amount to. That makes sense?
Okay, okay, we've resolved that, and, okay, back on the question, discussion. Seeing none, we're ready to vote on item number 12. Mr. King renews his motion for an immediate introduction and adoption of item number 12, seconded by Commissioner Jones. Madam Clerk, take a vote.
Akerd? Blaylock? Broughton? Calton?
Yes.
Cole? Crawford?
Yes.
Cross? Crosswhite? Gardner? George? Glover? Harker? Harker?
Give us a thumbs up, Terry.
Okay, he can't hear us. He's on mute.
Yeah,
Oh, there it is. Thank you. Hutton? Jones? King? Leonard?
Yes.
Locke? Morrell? Pierce? Stanley? Starnes? Stidham? Vance? Woods?
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? I have 22 yes, 2 absent.
I received necessary majority. Item number 12 is adopted as proposed. That completes our resolution agenda. We're on 9:40 in the evening, and I personally want to say thank you for the hard work. You worked hard tonight, and I appreciate that. But if anybody wants to be recognized, push your button, and before we close out, Commissioner Glover, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to remind each commissioner, if they would, to talk to the constituents in their district and urge them to vote for liquor by the drink on this November ballot. I think it's very important we get it implemented for Sullivan County, the rural part of the counties. It's revenue that we're probably going to desperately need in the future here, provided. A lot of restaurants looking forward for this, and please talk to some folks in your area and urge them to vote for this. Also, on a real positive note, I'm kind of glad that they didn't come in there and give Terry a bath tonight while all this was going on. I've been awful worried about that, and I was going to try to get you to kind of cut that off if that happened, but I hope he's doing well. And Terry, get back here soon, buddy. We were thinking about you. Thanks.
Commissioner Glover, thank you for your work on the liquor by the drink resolution. I appreciate your attention to it. And if we can find any money anywhere, I don't think it's the county commission's place maybe to buy signs or everything, but I'll assist in if we can get some signs at the polls, because lots of folks don't know this is on the ballot, and it's the very last question. So we'll see if we can't develop a little bit of funds somewhere to buy some signs. And again, you all worked hard tonight. I appreciate it. I appreciate your patience as we get through these things. And Sam, I've got Angie first, and then Todd. I got Angie, Todd, and then you, Sam. Angie?
Yeah, I was he stole my punchline tonight. I had posted that on my Facebook about voting for the liquor by the drink and stuff. So if everybody will, a lot of people did not know that that is even on the ballot. And I tried to explain to them how it works. So I've got it on there. If y'all want to share my post, and I'm sure that the schools and the county would greatly appreciate that. Next is, I was going to tell Terry that I'm glad surgery went good and that we love you and we miss you, and hang in there. You're a trooper and we hope that you feel better soon. We'll continue praying for you.
Thank you, Angie. I know the comments that I've made, and I'm sure the comments the sponsor and as we're not promoting that, or I'm not, as a commissioner, we're promoting the people's right to vote on that because we think the people want that. And so, Commissioner Broughton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. This is actually addressed to Mr. King. I got a letter about a dinner. That dinner's on the same night as our meeting next month, isn't it? What's the situation with that?
Because we cannot get a schedule with our guy that we have a speaker and get everything lined up. There wasn't any other way that I could do it.
Can we have our meeting there?
We good? No, we can't do that. Why? I don't have it down. Maybe you can have it down there. We can change our meeting.
I just thought I better bring it up tonight.
Yeah, since we know that, we can have a discussion on that. If somebody's got there's nothing sacred about this third Thursday, and if it happened to be third Wednesday or whatever, I know a lot of you set your schedules, but let us know and let Dwight know. I wasn't aware of the dinner, and Dwight will work with you if you need to.
Y'all want to change? I mean, we'd be more glad to have you, but it's kind of beyond my control what we can do.
I understand. Let's see we'll see what we can work out. And we'll let you all know, and you can voice your opinion. Okay.
How much is it?
Judy votes for free. Sam, you're recognized.
I just like to take a minute, even though it's only been 2 days. I want to thank our election officials that are working. I mean, they have been slammed. Lines have been an hour, and it's probably looks like it's going to continue that way. I just want to thank them for what they're doing right now.
Thank you. And I agree. Lots of comments on social media. Any other business before the commission? Without anything, we stand adjourned.
This conference is no longer being recorded.